Hello and welcome to the MSP Voice webinar series. Today I am pleased to be joined by Scott Miller with IT Rockstars. He's going to talk to us about MSP online lead generation and kind of putting the social bent on it as well, I believe. So Scott, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Hey Doug, thanks for having me in the webinar today. I just to give you a quick overview of IT Rockstars more than anything else, just the kind of like the high level. I started this business up back in 2016, fairly recently actually, and I was actually going to be an MSP. I've worked for an MSP for a number of years. Before that, I had my own sort of computer repair business, but I pivoted about 6 months into this MSP model. I was basically just going to copy the old company I worked for, and I was like, one of my passions was actually search engine optimization. I thought I can maybe meld the two together. I can do sort of the MSP marketing sales and then the SEO. So sort of melding the two together. But what I realized in that is that doing SEO for MSPs is a lot of work, and you turn into basically an agency. So IT Rockstars would have become an agency, marketing agency, and I really didn't want that. I'm looking more for a sort of lifestyle business. So
Mm-hmm.
what I'm taking basically my passion for generating generating qualified leads. I love speaking to new people. When I was doing the business development role in the old MSP that I worked for, I love speaking to new people. The problem I had with it was actually finding people that would speak to me. I used to go offline, so I'd be going to things like BNI, business events, cold
Mm-hmm.
calling, building up business to business relationships. And there was a lot of work involved in that. So when it came to actually when it came to actually selling a product or service to a potential customer, that was the easy bit. The hardest part was actually generating the qualified leads. And I thought this is a huge pain point in the industry. And I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
the audience will agree that finding your next customer can be difficult depending on your business model. I know for most MSPs, they are kind of a very sort of sticky business where
Yeah, and yeah, a lot of MSPs I talk to, a lot of them, they get referrals word of mouth, which is good, but in terms of attracting new business where they don't have that, I see it all the time in the MSP community is how do I get leads? How do I find people? So I know it's a pain point for
yeah.
a lot of MSPs out there.
And that you're right on there, Doug. With it, it's the referral source is pretty much the standard model for them. Everyone,
Hmm.
they're going to their existing customer base looking for referrals, or they're just being referred because they're doing a good job. The problem with that model, it's not scalable. So you'll get to a certain size in your business, and if you've got if you've got sort of high goals for your business, where you're looking to sell further down the line, you need to get to that sort of next level, and you'll kind of plateau on that on the scaling on the referral side of things. So it's like, how do you get to the next? How do you get to the next sort of the next step in this and growing your MSP business? And that's where our lead generation formula comes in at IT Rockstars. It's purely an online lead generation formula. So what I'm going to do is just give you the sort of high level overview of what we're going to cover in the next 14, 50 minutes or so.
Okay.
So this is basically just who's this for? What I'm going to cover here in the next hour. It's for IT companies looking to scale their business, MSP companies providing managed IT services. They are the primarily two types of businesses that we work with, MSPs mainly. The break fix guys, so that's guys that are doing that break fix ad hoc work. This system will work for you, but it's really about looking towards migrating to the MSP business model more than anything else. This is probably, it can help you track that sort of break fix type repair, but it's not for the residential market. This is purely business to business relationships that we're going to be building up online. So that's what I mean by this slide. It's really that sort of proactive approach, the MSP, as opposed to the reactive, someone calling you up when they've got a problem. What you're going to learn is how to connect with the right people online. So I'm going to go into some detail on how to basically target the right market. So most MSPs work really well with certain types of businesses. So we're going to go into a bit of a deep dive in what those businesses are. Now, it will become fairly obvious to you when you see it, but it's, sometimes you just need to be shown showing the most obvious thing, and then you kind of get it in your head. And then I'm going to go over how to actually build up your reputation online. So you're going to connect with the right people online, and then it's building up your reputation personally online, but also your company's reputation. And the whole sort of our whole philosophy at IT Rockstars is helping MSP owners and IT businesses become the local trusted technology advisor online. So when someone, a local business owner is, when they've got maybe a question about technology, they're going to go to you, even if they are an existing customer, or if they've, if they've just seen your content online. That's kind of what the goal of this is. And then the final piece, and obviously educating that audience with content. But what do you do once you're in a position where someone's been following you online, they've seen the content, you've educated them on the content, you kind of built up that online relationship, what the next step is. And that's where you take it offline. So that's almost like the third step in this process is, how to take it offline and actually, have a face-to-face meeting. So that's what we're going to cover.
Okay. Great. So I haven't seen your presentation, but just I know a lot of MSPs I talk to, some of them really focus in on specific verticals. So does this process work for those as well? It's like, hey, I only deal with dental offices, or I only work with lawyers. Is the same process work? Or
it works. It probably works even better for
MSPs gotcha.
that work and they're very sort of niche down in these verticals. It probably works even better for them. There is some advantage if you cover multiple local sort of businesses. There is a sort of hidden advantage to that, but we'll get into that kind of later on in the presentation why that is. So yeah, it works for both. The big question actually I've always had about that, that focusing on that vertical. The question that I've always had about that model is that now you might know more than me about this one. Is that usually when someone's looking for IT support, when there's a business looking for IT support, there is a level of feet in the ground required. So there's like a local presence required by the MSP.
Yeah.
And if you're focusing in on a vertical, what can quite often happen is maybe your vertical is something like accountants. There's maybe only a certain amount of accountants in the area that you operate. So, so you're going to have to open up another office so that you can market and then service these other accountants in another area. So that's just a question that I've always had in my head. Maybe someone in the audience can answer it later on.
Yeah, okay. I think it depends on where you live, right? Because focusing on accountants in New York City would be a lot different than focusing on accountants, in small town in Iowa. So
that's exactly what I mean. Yeah, that's the answer. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to consider your geography, because I do agree that when you focus on a vertical, it limits you to those available companies within your geographic area that you can service.
That's what I'm getting at, Doug, and that's I think you've hit the nail on the head right there. But this formula, as I say, it does work for both. So
okay, great.
Okay, on to the next slide. So what's this going to do? So this is already mentioned this. You're going to become the local trusted technology authority. Now we've got this guy that's fixing a laptop motherboard up here, and a lot of business owners think that when there's there's an IT support requirement. So we're really trying to present a different type of image or different perception online about your business and about yourself and the type of services that you're offering. So we've got these two cool kind of slick looking dudes down here, and they kind of look like they might know what they're talking about when it comes to that sort of business IT requirement. So that's what we're trying to do here. That's the local trusted technology authority. And taking yourself out of that, the computer guy and more into a technology advisor type role. So that's the two items there. The third one we've got here is give you a potential. We're going to give you. Sorry, I'm mixing my words up here. So it's a potential source of leads. So this is going to just be kind of like a natural effect of this formula. Is we'll have leads that you can go to, that will fill your sort of sales pipeline. So you can actually have meetings in the diary, and you're not having to worry about where your next referral is coming from. So that's what this formula is going to do. it does solve a big pain point that I once had when I was operating in the MSP model, and that's that's what it's all about basically. So and there is a commitment to this formula, so it's just like anything else. It's difficult to do. You can't just spin this formula up over the course of 48 hours, 72 hours, and then start generating, qualified leads online. It doesn't work like that at all. There is a time commitment. You're going to have to dedicate about 50 minutes every day to this, and you have to do it consistently over a certain amount of time. So you kind of have to set some targets in this formula as well. So that's more of a word of warning about this. So it's not going to be a silver bullet to solve your sales pipeline problems. So this is the high level.
Why is the stuff that always works take so long?
That's just like a natural, yeah, that's just a natural effect of its nature, isn't it?
Nothing's easy, right?
Exactly. I mean, if it was easy, it would be boring, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
If it was easy, you wouldn't get out of bed in the morning. But it's true. It's the true with anything. The more work you put into it, the better it's going to be.
Yep.
So this is the high-level overview of the formula that we've got here in this next slide. So the first step is to build an online audience. And before you can build that online audience, you have to define the target market. The second step is to educate that audience. So once you have started to build the audience, that's connecting with the right people online, you then have to educate them about the services and technologies that you provide. And I say that education, I would guess it's more about providing help and goodwill. There is education within that, but it's really forming a relationship with them and providing useful content that they can take away and they can use within their business today. So it's stuff that they can take away, and it's very much an 80-20% rule in this. So you want to be 80% of your content wants to be educating, where there's maybe only 20%, if not less, talking about all of the amazing services and products that you can provide, your audience. And then the third step to this is capturing the leads, taking the interactions that people are doing with your posts and all of your content and taking those offline, and we'll cover that. So that's the high level. As I say, the first one is building the target audience. It's defining your target market. And as I mentioned before, this is maybe the most obvious thing, but who is your target market? Have you actually sat down and had a think about this? Now, if you are operating in a particular vertical or niche, it's probably a lot simpler. You've already been through this process. A lot of businesses, though, they grow organically. A lot of MSP businesses, they just take any type of business on and provide IT support and managed services for. They don't care who it is. The more, the merrier, and they take them in. So what you can do within that, if that's how you've built up your business so far, and you probably have a good idea already, is look at who's generating you the most profit for the least amount of hassle. Who are the clients that are easy to work with and are nice to work with? And that is almost like your target market right there. So it's like you want to look for similar businesses to those businesses that are, that you work well with. That's the big one. So for most MSPs, there is a local element to this. So it is usually, if an engineer has to be on site to fix a P1 priority one incident, it's a physical issue and they have to go on site, there is an expectation that they'll be there within the hour. So there is a geographical, I guess, you're geo-fenced. Most MSPs are geo-fenced, depending on the type of service that they're offering. And that is basically, can you get to the client's office within an hour? That obviously is dictated by where you are in the world. I mean, if you are in New York, then you could be operating within a 2 mile or a mile radius. Whereas if you're in another sparse location, it could be, I don't know, 60 to 100 miles. But it's most MSPs, there is a local element to it. The third thing here.
But just on the locality though, because again, I think some of the tools available now do make some remote work easier.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And then if they need someone local, they'll just sub a local MSP out, to have them go do the work. So I understand, this idea of fencing in, but a lot of MSPs I talk to, that's becoming a larger area because of the remote tools and the ability to network with other MSPs to go offer that on-site help if needed.
Yeah, it's a big thing, and it's becoming more and more that way. I just like to throw that one in there though, because I feel as though if you're connecting with local business owners online, they're more likely to talk to you because they see that you're also local. I just like to throw that one in there as a potential target more than anything else. The other potential target that you might disagree with me on here, Doug, is the company size. So it's a particular user-based size. So how many desktop PCs or laptops or whatever are you going to be supporting? So here in the UK, I certainly know there is a good size that fits very well with a lot of MSPs, and that is between 10 to 50 user base. Any less than 10 users is usually, they're not always, and they usually require a lot more work, and they're usually just more hassle more than anything else. Just because they're a smaller business, they're harder to standardize.
Yeah, well, it's similar to, here in the US, the MSPs that I talk to, most of them are dealing with company sizes in this range.
Yeah,
Um, so,
and
yeah, I don't disagree with you on the company size.
cool. Good to know. We finally agree. Something good, dog. That's good. Okay, so the 50 number, that is usually at the point where most businesses are looking at having an internal resource. So
Hmm.
they'll already have an or they've grown to 50. They're looking at an internal IT guy, IT manager, whatever. There's obviously still opportunity in that larger size where there's particular services that an MSP can still provide that IT function in house. Things like holiday cover, or just having that resource pool to go to when when that internal resource gets stuck with a problem. They want, a second opinion that Google can't help them out with. And the fourth thing I've got here in this slide here is these are the ones that worked for me more than anything else. So this will differ depending on your own business. But for me, it's always been professional services have been the ideal sort of client for an MSP. So that's businesses that have like an admin overhead. They have office workers, desktop computers, and a network infrastructure. Now, I've got a prediction on the network infrastructure side of things. Now, this might be one that you're going to disagree with me, Doug. A lot of people have, is the fact that once 5G is in place, there'll be no longer the requirement to have an internal network infrastructure. I'm just putting that out there more than anything else. But
No, I've seen I saw the video you posted a while back, where you talked about that. I don't necessarily disagree with it, but it's not here yet, so it's kind of hard to gauge if
yeah,
it's going to be enough for like an entire office, and then also what the pricing is going to be like.
I think
Um,
it's going to be massive.
it's
I
going to
think
start off expensive, just like anything
it's
new. It'll be expensive when it starts off. So.
Yeah, but I think it's going to have so much change just over the next 10 years. You're going to have all devices will just be connected. You won't need that internal network infrastructure. And because of that, a lot of these services that are coming online now, like Microsoft offering remote desktop support and managed desktops, that's become, I don't know, there's going to be they're going to take a bigger slice away from that. But with all these changes, there's also a lot of opportunity within that. But that's not what this presentation is about.
Yeah, we'll debate that another time.
That's all the time here. Okay, so examples of professional services. These are ones that I've worked with, and they work really well for me. As I say, this might differ for yourself. So it's accountancy firms, legal firms. So that's lawyers, solicitors, recruitment agencies. They usually have high admin, staff. Then there's the real estate agencies. They're landlords as well, and property management firms. They work really well because they've usually got multiple locations. Also, a lot of real estate agents. So if they're needing that network infrastructure in place for all the offices, it's just always worked well. And there's obviously healthcare too, and then architects. This is quite a good one for referral sources. I've always liked architects for referral sources because they know when things are getting built. So when there's a bit of business being done locally, there's maybe someone moving or expanding office. Architects are really good for that. Same with construction. Here in the UK, we have social housing firms. I don't know what they would be called in the US, but then you've also got nonprofits and the care sector. Then bottom of the list, the ones that have always caused me a bit hassle, but they still do have a requirement, is marketing PR agencies. These are just some ideas that I'm putting out here more than anything else.
Hmm.
Some ones that I would avoid. Now there's probably people that do this, but things like nightclubs. How many admin staff does a nightclub have? On desktop computers. I just see things like that as that type of business. Same with restaurants. A lot of those hospitality type ones, they're very sort of price sensitive as well.
Hmm.
So it's really going to have to sort of the cream of the crop. It's like looking at all of the different industries and services that are out there. Where's the money? That's
Yeah.
the other thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Although I did interview, had someone on the podcast a while back from the UK who specialized in hotels.
Okay.
And that was their vertical, and they've done extremely well with it.
Yeah, I can see.
So
I can see
there
hotels.
are opportunities in like hotels and retail, but like you said, it's different than the list that you have here.
Yeah, and hotels is probably quite a nice one. I know certainly here in the UK, they're always going through acquisition, so there's always a lot of money flowing around. So I can see how that one would work quite well. But I just know from like the sort of the retail side and some of that hospitality, like restaurants, and that there's a sort of price sensitivity there that can be difficult to work in the managed service model. Um, Anyway, next slide. These are just examples. Once you've kind of defined, who are the type of businesses that you're going to be targeting online that you want to connect to, is actually formalizing in your own head. This is just a marketing trick, pretty much, but questioning who is the IT buyer. So if you look at your existing customer base, who's making the decisions around the IT supplier and the services that the IT supplier provides. So when you're going into, to speak to someone about potential new contract or something like that, who's it that you're actually going to speak to? A lot of the time, it's usually the business owner, CEO, managing director. Here in the UK, that will sometimes get directed towards the finance director. So they kind of often get lumped with the IT side of things, and that's just kind of how it's always worked. I'm not entirely sure why that is. And then there's the third one, which is kind of like the office manager. But I would always start at the top of the pyramid when you're connecting with these people. Now, because you can get referred down, it's a lot harder to get referred up. So if you connect first with the office manager, and then you're trying to get referred up to the business owner, that's a much more difficult task. So that was the philosophy here is, once you've defined who your target market is, who are the individuals within those type of companies that you're looking to connect with. So just have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and the
And
office manager is usually a gatekeeper anyway. So
that that's right. Yeah. So just bypass them. That's what I would suggest. They'll cause you a lot of hassle. So how are you going to connect with these types of people online? There's no better way to do that than LinkedIn. Now it's fairly obvious. Um, if you're on LinkedIn, you can find these types of companies, and then you can look, on LinkedIn and look at the employees in these companies, and then find who the potential buyers are, the IT buyers are, or the decision makers. That's probably the better way of putting it out there. So what this is, this is just a clear, simple process more than anything else. But sometimes these things just have to be stated. You can use other platforms, so there's things like places like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or any of these other social platforms. But I find that it's a lot more difficult to target who you need to target, just because they're a lot more difficult to find on these types of platforms. There's no better place than LinkedIn. So it's a massive opportunity just now. And I say just now because, we had obviously things like the MySpace era back in the noughties, and where's MySpace now? Eventually, LinkedIn will disappear and there'll be something else. So you really have to grasp the opportunity at the moment that there is. And it's just like anything else in marketing. Once people start going to this platform to connect, you'll find that everyone and their dog is going to be doing it, and it just gets oversaturated and then ignored. And that's not what we want it to do. So you kind of have to get in when there's still a chance and opportunity. When you're connecting with people on LinkedIn, there's two ways of going about it. So there's the free version of LinkedIn. You can connect with owners on LinkedIn quite easily with the free version. You just have to look up the types of companies that you're looking to work for. The main issue with the free version, though, is there's a limited search functionality on the free version of LinkedIn. And I think it actually limits the amount of people you can connect with as well. If you're really serious about this, you're probably looking at Sales Navigator. So that's like LinkedIn's premium version. You can do a lot of interesting things with Sales Navigator. And you can refine in on your target market on Sales Navigator. So you can specify that you're looking for example, accountancy firms in a particular geographical location. And a particular head count, that 10 to 50 in size. You can do all of that within the Sales Navigator. You can't do that on the free version. So you can get very granular on these, on the sort of company size and the location, and it's a quick win basically. I think at the moment it's probably around about $100 a month for that subscription, but it's definitely worth it. There is a 14-day free trial, but as I say, you have to kind of put in some of the time here, so you have to be prepared to maybe pay for a little bit some of the subscription fees. It's definitely worth it though, with the opportunity.
So like you said, it's about $100 a month, but is that better than AdWords, than paying for AdWords?
I think you'd pay a lot more for AdWords if you were, you'd be paying like $2,000 a month.
Okay.
The cool thing with AdWords though is it's people looking for your services at the right time in the sales funnel. Whereas the people on LinkedIn, their majority of people you're going to be connecting with aren't, looking for your services. So that's the big thing. You pay for what you get. I love AdWords though, but
if you have the budget for it.
this is the long game though, Doug. This is building the relationship online. And then you're perceived as this trusted technology advisor, so that you won't need AdWords in 6 or 12 months time. People will just think of you when they have a question about technology. So connection examples. I can fire up my screen and how we can do this. Let me get my LinkedIn on. I've actually got a couple of profiles in LinkedIn. I've got one that I use specifically for targeting, and then I've just got my normal LinkedIn profile that I use for that's just kind of grown as LinkedIn's been here. So the free version, this is the free version that I've got up here, or this is, if you're using the free version, this is what you'll be using, the search function up here, up the top. You can pretty much search business names and people using the free version. So what you would have to do is go to somewhere like, now here in the UK, yell.com is where you can go and look for businesses. So say, for example, I was wanting to target accountant firms, and we will go for my town of birth, which is Glasgow. So I'm going to look for accountants in Glasgow, and it gives me a whole set of accountants here. And what I would do is take the company name. The cool thing with the ones at the top is they've obviously got, they're looking for business because they've got these sponsored listings, but they'll also have probably a marketing budget. So pay attention to the sponsored listings. Then you basically just want to search for that company in the free version here, and you may find that this is probably not the best example actually. Let me do one that I've done already. I did it in Aberdeen. There is a lot more work as well on the free version, because a lot of the time you won't find who you're looking for, and that's a really good example. Here is Clements Chartered Accountants. I didn't actually find the company, but with this one here, Home Morris, if I type that in to the search, the free version, it actually comes up here, the company. So once you got your company, you can go to the employees, And then you can find that IT decision maker and connect with them. So we've got Tom right here at the top. I've actually already clicked in his profile as an example previously. He's the managing director of this accountancy firm. He would be a prime target for us to connect with online. Now, my advice to you when connecting with someone online on LinkedIn, a lot of the time, you've probably already seen this yourself, Doug, someone connects with you and they send you a message at the same time. I class that as spam. It's
I do
kind of,
too.
yeah, I see that as almost the same stuff that I get in my inbox. That's just non-solicited, junk. Um,
Mhm.
and I get a message that lands in my LinkedIn Messenger, and I really just ignore it, delete it. I make a concerted effort to flag the person as I do not know this person and I don't want to connect with them. So my advice here when connecting is just hit connect. The second piece of advice is in your own profile, make it clear what you do at the very top here and where you are. So there's a better chance that this person, the local business owner, is going to connect with you if you state your own locality. So if they see that you're another local business owner, there's more, I guess there's more of a connection, less of a risk that you're going to land in the spam or they're just going to ignore you. But also the fact that I've got here, I help IT support and managed service companies generate more qualified leads. There's a good chance that when I'm connecting with MSP and IT business owners, that they're going to connect back with me just on that one line there because they see that I'm doing that. I'm helping them. So you really have to think about what your profile says. I'm not going to go full into LinkedIn though. I will quickly show you Sales Navigator. If I can Google it, because I don't know what the URL is of it. And the difference here, hopefully I'm going to the right page, is the search criteria. As I mentioned, you can really go down. I should be working for LinkedIn here. This is LinkedIn sales. Doug, well, here's a search that I've done just recently. So I'm looking for, you guys are actually my target audience, managed service
Mhm.
provider. So I'm looking for the keyword managed service provider in the profile. I'm looking to speak to UK MSP business owners. So I've kind of chosen this geographical location. I do say that IT Rockstars is actually any English speaking country we work with. And the relationship is second or third degree connections. We don't want to be going after the first degree connections in this list because we're already connected with them. And then I've got the industry. I can specify an example, the accountants as the example, and then the company headcount. And then you've got the title. You can do a Boolean search on the title. So if you're looking to actually look for the owners of the business, you can do like an or statement. And you can also put in notes in there. So in this example here, I don't want to speak to the engineer, the technician, really more than anything else. If someone that has the job title IT support, I really want to speak to the owner of the MSP business. So that's an
Okay.
example there, and it gives me a really targeted list that I can connect with. Now I'll go back to my slides, Doug. But what I would suggest with connecting with these decision makers is that you do 20 a day. Any more than 20, you're going to risk getting your LinkedIn account, I don't know, flagged probably by LinkedIn, and you'll get blocked. Any less than that is probably not going to have a big enough impact. So, but that 20 number, as I say, it's about this consistency, Doug. 15 minutes a day. If you can just work this into one of your habits, either first thing in the morning or last thing at night, connecting with 20 people in your target, your target market. It turns out to 100 connections a week. No, then that's 400 a month. But not everyone's going to connect with you back. They're going to probably be a bit more like me, and they're going to say, "I do not know this person." But you'll find a lot of people will connect back with you. So probably a low estimate is 50% will connect back with you. So over the course of 12 months, you can build up quite a good LinkedIn connection base. You can go up to 2,400 connections potentially if you do this every day. And the big question is, what's your current sales target? How many leads do you need to generate every month to meet these targets? So 2,400 is probably more than enough connections for any MSP, I would assume, but I don't know. What are your targets? Just keep that in mind. If you can do it consistently, you'll find you'll get to your goals well, they'll become more apparent and once you start educating your audience.
Yeah. No, just real quick. So now you're okay. You're gonna get into that next. It's like it's one thing to connect people. It's another thing to have them engage with you, right? That the 2 to 6 leads a month
Yeah,
goal is you've got to like this. That's what you're talking about now is your
that's
provide,
right.
make, and call to action. All right.
So this is actually the core service that we provide at IT Rockstars. I mean, it is the actual content that you're going to provide this audience that you now have. So you've connected with all of these people, and the opportunity you have now, yeah, you could go and speak to them directly on Messenger, but they'll just think you're spamming them. But you can start filling up their timeline with your content. So the sort of the formula I've got for the content, as I say, is provide useful content that people can use in their business. So none of the content should be about your business or about the services that you offer. It should be providing help for that local business owner that has problems in their business. So it's really about educating your connections on the services and solutions that you provide, but actually showing them sort of practical, real world things that they can do and take away today literally, and don't make the content bland. There are some tricks that you can do. I will go into, I think it's the next slide, so it's not so bland. And then have a call to action or multiple call to actions in the content. So you can pepper this into the content itself. So providing some reason that they would take an action. Either that action could be just to like your post on LinkedIn, it could be to comment on the post, or you may even have what is known as a lead magnet. So that's some sort of ethical bribe where they would go to your website to download a PDF, a template or something like that. That is this is almost like the foundation piece for this whole formula. You really have to get the content right, Doug, to start having the credibility and becoming that sort of technology authority. So having a whole sort of content plan, how often you're going to post out there and what type of content that you're going to produce, who's going to produce it. That's a whole other piece that we're not going to get into there. That's what we do at IT Rockstars though. But you really do have to be spot on with your content to attract the right type of customers.
Yeah, because
Um,
that's the thing. It's about, like you said before, you can connect all the people you want, but if you're not giving them information that they find interesting or relevant, then they're not going to engage with you, and they're just another LinkedIn connection that means nothing.
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's exactly it, Doug. You really have to put a lot of work into that content, and there are tricks you can do to make your content more appealing. By far, the first thing that you should be doing is spending probably a bit of time on the actual headline for your content. So
Mhm.
there's some tricks that you can do with that. There's a guy called John Morrow. He has got a PDF called 52 Headline Hacks, and he kind of goes into the formula of producing headlines that are click worthy, that people are wanting to click on and digest that content. The other guy we've got up on the screen here, this is Brian Dean. He's an SEO expert, and he has a website called Backlink Co. It's an awesome website, but within that he discusses ways in which you can game Google. But this same game that Google plays applies to just anyone in general, and that is how they digest your content, what makes good content, and things that you can do with your content. So one of the things that he starts off with in all of his content is this APP formula. So when you're writing a piece of content, this is almost like the summary piece before you really get into the actual the meat of the article. So the APP formula is agree about something with that person. So In the MSP world, what could we agree on with our audience? It probably is phishing emails. I'm sure you'll agree with me when I say that you're bombarded with phishing emails almost every day. That is a statement that you would agree on, and that's kind of showing that sort of empathy to your audience. And they're going to more than likely start reading further down the page. So the next piece here is promise what you're going to help them solve. So an example of the phishing email, I'm going to, in this article, I'm going to promise that, or I'm going to help you solve your phishing email woes, your staff clicking on these phishing links. And then the third piece of this is the preview. Give them the answer up front. So this is almost like the golden piece of knowledge. It's like, do this one thing and you'll find that your phishing emails will be wiped out. You'll have 90% of your phishing emails will be blocked, which obviously is not realistic, but it's providing that real sort of golden value right up front, and that will kind of open up the whole content, and people will actually want to read further down the page and engage with your content. So that's just one of the tactics that's used within that you can use in your content. There are many other ones, psychological loops. I won't get into that just now, maybe later. That's just an example right there. So that's some of the tactics that we use within our content at IT Rockstars, and you can easily take these away today with you as well. They do require some practice, but they really do work. This is the statistic that the consistency one, Doug. This is me getting back to doing, having a content plan in place, and then planning that out every calendar month. So how much content do you plan to post every month? Now we provide our audience, our customers, with 4 premium white label articles every month, Doug. I don't know from what you guys do in Cloudberry, if you have a content plan in place, or how many pieces of content do you put out every month? Do you have a plan for that?
Oh, definitely. And a lot of it comes through our blog, but then, we do Facebook, we do some LinkedIn, we do a lot of different things because again, we're targeting much the same audience as you are as MSPs.
Yeah.
So, and another area that's not that we use quite a bit is Spiceworks. So
Okay.
we're very active in there, but that's targeted. That's not going to help an MSP so much get customers because Spiceworks isn't their target customer. But for us,
Yeah.
there's a lot of MSPs that hang out there.
Okay, yeah, Spiceworks. I haven't been there in a little while, but yeah, I had their help desk system up. But they've got quite an active community as well, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Okay. All right, getting back to this, the compounding. The way I like to put this is the compounding interest example. So it's the same with your marketing. If you know anything about compounding interest, that over time it's basically what your pension or your 401k, whatever it's called, is going to do for you over a certain amount of time. Let me see if I can bring up an example of this, because I really like to show this to people. This is something I wish I knew, Doug, when I was like 18 years of age. Compounding interest calculator. So if you Google this one, let's say we're opening a savings account and we have a base amount, let's say it's $10,000, and we've got maybe a nice interest on there of 6%. And we're 18 years of age, and we let's say we're going to work for 40 years, and we're going to put in every month, we're going to put in $400 into that compounding interest, or that interest savings account. Over time, that interest compounds on itself. So over up to year 20, we're running this much interest every year, and then if we go all the way up to year 40, we're looking at almost $1 million there due to compounding interest. The same is true for your marketing. Over time, as you produce content that you're posting out consistently, you'll find you have almost that's what's going to give you this perception to your target market, this audience that you've connected with as the trusted technology advisor. So one of the steps you can do with this is have a lead magnet in your content, something that's going to help the business owner. There are lots of examples of this. I should really probably put together a link for lead magnets for MSPs, but I do have a list of them in my book, Doug, that I recently wrote, Bear Attack SEO for MSPs. That lead
Okay.
magnet is something that they can take away. It's usually some form of media. There is usually, you put this on your website, but they have to obviously put in their email address before they can download that lead magnet. But it's something that's going to help them, that they're actually wanting to download, and it's going to be useful for them. You don't need the lead magnet though, it's optional. You can, but this is going to help you generate these contacts that you can, they're basically leads for your sales pipeline. The other things that you can do are just be aware of who is engaging with your content. So people are commenting on your articles on LinkedIn, or people are liking your articles. That is almost, that forms your, that's almost like your pipeline right there. Those folks
Mm-hmm.
that are engaging with your content, they're the ones that you want to speak to, because they know who you are and they know this content that you're producing, and they know what you're all about because they've digested it. What we got here, yeah. So this is just, yeah. We all know what the funnel is here for MSP sales, but yeah, people liking your LinkedIn articles. But what you can do then at that stage, once you have these names, is that's when you can pick up the phone and actually speak to these people. So you've got what is known as when it's not the cold call, and there's two reasons for this. The first one is they've engaged with your content online. And the second reason is potentially this one, Doug, is because you're a local business owner, so they know that you're local in the area. So pick up the phone, and it's not a cold call because they've already engaged with your content. So they're a little bit warmer than a cold call, not purely warm, but this is the step in the process where you have to kind of take it offline. Now you could continue down the whole online and start speaking to them on Messenger and things like that. But you as a business owner, I think you need to, I think it needs to be taken offline at this stage. And the whole purpose of that phone call is basically just to see if you can set a date with them, to grab a coffee and find out a little bit more about their business. And over time, they'll get to know, like, and trust you. And that's something that you should be doing in your content anyway. And they'll get to know who you are. They'll get to like what you're talking about, and then they'll start to trust you. I mean, when you're at that stage, it's a lot easier to sell to these types of people. So that whole sort of sales piece kind of falls away, and that's when you can discuss what the actual pain points are in their business, and that's where you come with your technology solutions. How are you going to make their business more efficient using technology?
Great.
So set yourself some target, guys. That's all I've got to say, Doug, really, on this is, is it going to be 6 months from now? How many people are you going to connect with? How many times are you going to pick up the phone and set a date in the diary to meet with these people that are engaging in your content? There's not been any time like I've known than just now in regards to this massive opportunity with LinkedIn. Now you hear it all the time from, if you ever follow people like Gary Vaynerchuk, that's what he's saying, and all of his content is basically, this is a huge opportunity that is going to just completely disappear at some point in the future. So this is by far the sort of the best way to do it online, and it's one that is scalable to an extent, whereas the sort of offline referral sources are not. So I don't have any other questions, Doug, for me at this stage.
No, no, I don't think so. I mean, like I said, I know LinkedIn is going to be a great source, and there's other sources too, like barking dogs. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but because we talked a little bit about Facebook. You said videos like Facebook pages and things like that. Is it easy to get people, like if you create a page for Facebook for your business, how easy is it on there, or do you not worry about or try to engage in Facebook?
I don't really attempted to. I mean, there are some things you could do in Facebook. So a lot of um, a lot of let's say, for example, you're targeting accountants, so they'll have Facebook groups for Zero users, or Sage users, or any other software package. So that's one way that you could target an audience on Facebook, is joining these groups that are specifically around pieces of software that your target market are looking for. But it's nothing that I've really ever experimented with. I think the reason I like LinkedIn so much is just because you can get down to the right person that you need to speak to more than anything else. You can get to
Yeah.
them pretty much, you can get to them, within 60 seconds. You can do that, and you can't do that on any other platform. So the thing that I do like about Facebook, and I have mentioned to this before the webcast, the webinar here, is that if you start doing video on Facebook, you can target the audience that's watched your previous content. So if you're doing video, you can target ads to people that have already watched, maybe say for example 25 or 50% of the videos that you've done. So Doug, if
Okay.
you were doing this webinar on Facebook Live, which you can quite easily do now, there'd be people joining it, and then you could target those people depending on how much of the webinar they watched. So, the people that watched maybe 50 to 100%, they're going to be warmer than the people that maybe only watched the first 3 to 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's a far more effective way to market, because you can get right down to the people that are interested. They've also listened to you for, we've been talking here for about 50 minutes now.
Hmm.
So they know who you are, as an extent, so they'll be willing to watch more of your content. That's known, I think, it's called intent-based branding. There's a whole piece behind that. I'm not going to get into it here, but
Okay.
it works really well, and it's a big opportunity at the moment, because Facebook, if you're doing ads, they're still fairly low priced. The big brands haven't completely eaten up all the ad space at this stage.
Okay. So, and now I noticed too, you said IT Rockstars, right? I mean, you guys provide a service. So besides, the great content you just shared here, you also provide content for MSPs for these things like LinkedIn so that they don't have to write it all themselves. Am I correct there?
That's right. So I mean, the biggest time suck to all of this is actually producing the content in this formula. So
Hmm.
it's that second stage. So, connecting with the right people is fairly straightforward, but producing the content on a regular basis, that's the bit that we can help with at IT Rockstars. We
Okay.
provide 4 premium articles. I've got a couple of slides on it. It's 4 premium white label articles, an explainer video, and there's also a lead magnet that's provided every month. It's fresh content every month. These are geographically locked, so we can only work with one MSP per kind of location on
Well, that
these
makes
ones.
sense.
Um, and the models, there are other services that are very similar to this. What I
Hmm.
would say about the IT Rockstars service is the fact that we have the technical background here. So we have not only the technical background, but we've also got the sales background in the MSP space. So it's not just a marketing agency spinning off content for you. This is content with real depth, that we know, your products and services and how that translates to your target market. There's
Okay.
also some bonus material included also in that package. So you get a copy of the book that I wrote. There's master classes, and you also get some social posts.
Great. And then just go to itrockstars.co.uk,
That's
right?
right, itrockstars.co.uk. You can learn more there. If you want to find out more about the formula, there's the website, but actually the best place is probably Facebook. If you go to our page on Facebook, I put out a video every day on Facebook. Um,
Okay.
that would be the best place to go. But yeah,
Great. Well,
certainly
we'll
check
be
it
sure
out.
to include that in the links on the blog post with this recording.
Yeah, cool, Doug. Hey, it's been good.
Yeah.
I hope I haven't sent you to sleep yet, Doug.
No, not at all. It's great, especially LinkedIn. Love it or hate it, but we talked a little bit beforehand. I do think it's better than Facebook in terms of business to business.
Oh yeah,
Because like I mentioned to you earlier, I use Facebook for me as personal.
yeah,
Friends and family. It's not about trying to get business. Even though I am in some groups, some MSP targeted groups, for work. But in terms of friends and what I share, I keep my Facebook pretty private. But it's definitely something that it's switching over a little bit more and more into the business world a little bit. So it's we'll see what happens. And like you said with LinkedIn, Microsoft owns LinkedIn now, um,
Yep.
and hopefully they're gonna keep it separate and let it continue to grow and make changes to it to keep it interesting and involved.
Yeah.
But like you said, this it seems things seem to change, every 6 months, in
Yeah.
terms of
We're
what
at a
works and
stage.
what.
We're at a stage at the moment with the algorithm in LinkedIn where it's still kind of in its infancy. So the timeline that you
Hmm.
see in LinkedIn is very much what Facebook was like 5 years ago,
Yeah,
and its algorithm. So it was a lot easier to promote your business on Facebook 5 years ago. Now you basically have to pay to play. Whereas
yeah.
LinkedIn is still much. You can put a post up there, or you can like someone's piece of content or comment on a piece of content, and all of your connections will see that if they're on.
Hmm.
And there's also, I think, with LinkedIn, I think there's a fine line at the moment where there's a lot of stuff that it's just there to grab your attention. So if you can provide real value in your content that you put on LinkedIn, you'll find that you'll stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, and I've heard this before, but the only reason you go to LinkedIn is to find a job. So hopefully people are using it for more than that nowadays.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's when I first started using it as well, was when I was looking for a
Yeah,
job. But then there's a whole other ecosystem to it as well. There's a whole other usages of it. It is just get better and better. But I don't really want to put too much emphasis on LinkedIn. It's more about this whole formula. It can be done
yeah,
anywhere, but it's just a lot
yeah.
more difficult on other platforms.
Okay, great, Scott. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the time you took with us today. I will make sure to have all relevant links in the blog post that will have a recording of this, and hope to talk to you again, or hopefully meet you in person one of these days.
Yeah, Doug, that'd be great. I really appreciate your time today and having me on here and speaking to your user base. It's been excellent.
All right.
I
Well, keep up the good
Yeah,
work. All
thank you.
right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.